Alright, so it's no longer a meme, ladies and gentlemen. Arsenal have the champion mentality. They've had a lot of doubters since the start of the season, and we all know those doubters are still hanging about.
Can I ask the Arsenal fans on this question? Do you think you'll finish above Tottenham, honestly, this season?
But their numbers are dwindling, that's for sure. Now, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. They don't want the general public to see this, but here's an X-ray of Arteta that I managed to swipe the other day. Before anyone asks, yes, I am a doctor. And yes, this is anatomically possible. I don't know what to tell you guys. We're entering the business end of the European leagues, and these guys have yet to show signs of collapse. There's been a blip here and there, but at the same time, nothing long-standing. The team of youngsters continues to show up every weekend, and Arteta's hair remains impressively conditioned each and every time. Seriously, is this allowed? Dude is like an action figure, I swear. With 10 games left to play, and with the authority that these guys have been playing with, it's hard to imagine that they will bottle it when things are all said and done. Of course, stranger things have happened in the past, but then again, those are anomalies. Just like how, at one point in time, even the idea of Arsenal winning the league was an anomaly. Anyway, today I wanted to go over just some of the reasons for why Arsenal have already shown themselves to have the champion feel, and also why they hold all the cards going into the run-in. With that being said, why will Arsenal be champions? Yo, what's going on guys? Hope you're all doing well. I'm Tinashe and welcome back to another video. Arsenal have been trailblazing all year, and there's no better way to illustrate that than to do a little bit of a stats dump on their season thus far. Numbers speak much louder than words. First things first, let's look at the table. With 69 points after 28 games played, Arsenal are 15 points more superior than they were at this exact same stage last year. They've won more games at this stage than they ever have in the history of the EPL, with 22. And interestingly, they're level on points with Man City, who were the leaders at this stage last year. Also, they're not grossly overperforming either. This isn't like a fluke thing. An expected goals total of 2.2 goals per game versus an actual goals total of 2.35 goals per game suggests just that. The scoring is being shared with 14 unique goal scorers and 3 separate players with 10 or more goals in the league already. And the assists paint a similar picture too. 15 separate creators. They're impressing both on the pitch and in Excel. Right, so let's jump into the reasons for why I believe Arsenal are pretty much inevitable at this point. First reason, they're pretty good, aren't they? The dynamism in this team has me shocked that it's the same side I watched last year almost every time I tune in. They've got the transfers right in just about every sense. The incoming of the Man City duo of Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus has worked wonders. Leandro Trossard has literally been the perfect January transfer so far. Slotted in and injected the exact energy that was required. Benny Blanco, also known by his government name Ben White, and Bukayo Saka have been combining down the right to lethal effect. Meanwhile, against Fulham, all their goals came from the left side, with Trossard's hat-trick of assists. Yeah, they can play ball. On to the next point, and soon enough, the opposition will likely be legless. Manchester City pretty much represents the only threat to the crown at this point. I mean, you could go ahead and throw Manchester United into the mix if you want, but I mean, fair warning, if you do, I don't think I'm going to be able to take anything you ever say seriously ever again. On a serious note, Man City are still in both the FA Cup and the Champions League. The match against Bayern is hard to call, I must admit, but it's hard to see them tripping up against Sheffield in the FA Cup. Regardless, they will have quite a few midweek fixtures coming up, be it due to cup competitions or due to rescheduling of Premier League games because of cup competitions. Now this is more interesting than you may think. I was doing some lurking on the Premier League subreddit, as I often do, because I am a degenerate, and I found an interesting write-up by user Barry Butcher. The post essentially goes into detail about the last 10 games that Manchester City and Arsenal both have to play in the Premier League. I suggest reading the whole thing for yourself, it's pretty good, but I just want to laser in and focus on just one of the observations that they made in this post. City have dropped points in 50% of their league matches that followed a midweek clash, and 6 of the 8 matches that City have dropped points in this season came after a midweek clash. Now, they've already had matches postponed in the league, so they conceivably will be playing every 3 or 4 days for the remainder of the season. The squad depth will be tested for sure. Moving on to one of the biggest reasons that explains my confidence in this team going forward is their reaction to setbacks and what they've shown us so far. Like every club, Arsenal have faced injury setbacks. Thomas Partey, one of the most important cogs in the machine, was injured in the early season, yet Arsenal won every game he was absent in, bar one against Manchester United. Jesus, who was on fire straight away, was out for most of the season, while Arsenal continued to run rampant. Same goes for Zinchenko. Despite all of this, the Gunners have continued to push on. And probably the biggest test they faced this season when it comes to setbacks came between the 4th and the 15th of February 2023. 2 losses and a draw in succession, results that allowed Man City to close a 7-point gap and draw level with Arsenal for the first time since match day 2. All the doubters, myself included, pretty much assumed that this is where the bottle job would begin. You know, just like expecting the worst. Lo and behold, fast forward to today, and the gap between Arsenal and the rest is 8 points. If that's not the response of champions, I'm not entirely sure what is at this point. One of the biggest reasons that explain people's reluctance to back Arsenal as contenders, even in this current day and age and in the current state of the league table, is the fact that they haven't won the Premier League in 19 years and therefore do not have the necessary experience to see the whole thing out, which is a fair point. I mean, experience and keeping a cool head is often the deciding factor when it comes to high pressure situations like this, right? Funnily enough, which is probably one of the biggest reasons for why Arsenal are so well equipped to take it all the way. Take a look right here. This is a list of current Arsenal players that have won a league title in the past 5 years. We got a few from foreign leagues, sure, but quite significantly, we have 2 of Arsenal's standout players since the beginning of the season, Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko, both multi-league winners with Man City, of course. Jorginho unfortunately transferred to Chelsea 2 years after they last won the league, and even more unfortunately, is unable to lift the trophy that Napoli will inevitably lift pretty soon. All the same, he's had quite a high-profile, trophy-laden past few seasons himself. And then we have the manager himself. Mikel Arteta joined Pep Guardiola's coaching staff in 2016 and proceeded to be his assistant while City picked up 2 Premier League trophies in his 3 years there. Realistically, if we want to turn around and talk about experience and how it helps win league titles, ironically, Arsenal are one of the strongest teams in the entire division in that regard. It's a pretty fun fact, right? What's that? Only for Arsenal fans? Yeah, fair enough. The belief and determination amongst these players is almost palpable at times. Granit Xhaka, who's experienced one of the most remarkable redemption arcs we've seen in football in recent times, is frequently seen leading proceedings and driving his teammates on. Dude's a fan favorite for sure. The drive of the younger players in Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka seems to grow week by week, and this is after they've both agreed to bumper new deals with the Gunners. How often do you see that? The future of not only these boys, but also Arsenal's attack is looking bright. Now, we don't even have to talk too much about Martin Odegaard. The guy is Arsenal's captain for a reason, you know? The types of passes this guy attempts leave me dumbfounded sometimes. They don't always work out, but the fact that he is so willing to take the risk so often and that he plays in a system that allows for this makes me quite happy as a spectator. All in all, it sounds weird to say, but I'd be more surprised if Arsenal falter than if they were to continue on this hot streak until the end of the season. And I think this team winning would only be a good thing for the league. What they represent as a young, dynamic squad that formulated a plan all those years ago and then stuck to it when it would have been very easy to divert, especially when they were finishing in 8th all those years ago, is something that every supporter wants to see for their club. You know, an actual rebuild that yields results. The job's not done yet though, and even though I do have faith in them, we're gonna have to wait and see how this one unfolds. And there we have it. Let me know how you guys feel about Arsenal. Feel free to follow all the socials. All the links are in the description. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.